everybody. I'm Dr. Cindy Howard, a chiropractic internist and nutritionist, and your host of the Positively Altered podcast, where we have raw, honest conversations. Sometimes we don't even know where they're going to go, and it doesn't matter because it's all about having a good time and giving you a little bit of education or something to think about. So today on our podcast, we are going to talk about the intersection of law school, Mexico, and Latin dancing. I know I'm a little confused too. So go ahead, grab a comfy seat or your headphones that you need for the remainder of this time. We're going to take a quick listen to our sponsors. They're super important. And then come right back and figure out, how does that intersection really have anything to do with each other?
Hello, my name is Heather Lord, and I am the COO of Professional Health Products. Cutting corners is an all too common practice in the dietary supplement industry. When my father founded Professional Health Products, he sourced the cleanest, most biologically active ingredients from around the globe. Today, that commitment remains, which is why the finest healthcare practitioners, like Dr. Cindy, have trusted us for more than 40 years. We oversee the entire process in our manufacturing facility, from sourcing and formulation to manufacturing and labeling. Today, we offer over 300 unique products that can be tailored to the nutritional and homeopathic needs of each individual. Most recently, we launched a proprietary genetic test, allowing our practitioners to get even more dialed in to their patients' health. To learn more about Professional Health Products, please talk to your practitioner or visit our website at phpltd.com.
Today, your life is going to be altered. I'm Dr. Cindy.
Welcome to Infinity. We have worked hard to create an electronic claims website that is simple and user-friendly. This is the public side. You can log into your personal web portal here. This is your dashboard. You can personalize it to your liking here. Our main focus has been to allow you to submit and edit claims as easy as possible. You will find our claims editor and claims processing is simple to use and straightforward. Our quick action bar is where you can find your most important information. Most of these icons will take you directly to the claims the number represents. You can easily view if you have any messages in your inbox of any unread alerts by looking for these blue numbers. To view the rest of our training videos to get the most of your Infinity experience, click this icon. We hope you find this web portal simple and easy to use. Thanks for letting us serve you.
I'm Dr. Cindy. Who wouldn't want to join me for the Positively Altered podcast? I am so glad you made it through our announcements and through our sponsors because they are important. But equally important is my next guest. Kim Bolourtchi is joining me today. And check this out. She is the Director of Leadership and Professional Development for a top 20 law school. I can't wait to hear which one it is because I'm sure they wouldn't accept me. And I'm going to write them a letter to say I'm disenchanted with that. Okay, side note, she's also developed the curriculum for graduate level classes in organizational, leadership, and strategic communication and public speaking. And then it gets better. She's also authored a book called Truly Inspired. And I love the title. We're going to talk about that today, Kim. Secrets for Finding Extraordinary Success at Work. And if you still don't get enough of her from those two areas, then you got to check out her podcast called Get Unruly. And I don't know, I think I'm going to ask her to be a guest because I love the title and I'm pretty sure that I would qualify as unruly. All right, without further ado, Kim, I'm so happy to have you. Welcome to the Positively Altered podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here today and very excited for our conversation. And yes, you definitely qualify as unruly, so we can talk about that.
I love it. We'll do that offline afterward. Sounds good. So where do we start? We got law school, we got Latin dancing, we got professional development. Like, I don't know, do you have a favorite?
Well, Latin dancing is by far the most fun. And considering that it was the thing that I was always told not to talk about, I guess it's probably where I always like to start.
Then let's go there. Why can we not talk about Latin dancing?
Well, for a long time, I was always trying to be this professional person, right? There were all these rules around what it looked like to be a lawyer and to be the best, and I came up at a time when it was not easy to be a female litigator in a law firm, right? It was tough. And so I was like, tell me the rules. How do I do it? Show me what's the way to get to the top and be respected. So I did all those things, right? And it just so happened that I'm a competitive Latin dancer, and people were like, do not let anyone know that you do that, because if your clients or your colleagues know that you prance around in, high heels and fishnets and crystals, and even your mother doesn't recognize you when you walk into the ballroom because you have so much friggin' makeup on your face, like, they'll never respect you. No one's ever going to hire you. You cannot let people know about that part of your life. And for a really long time, I didn't. And so, it's interesting when I look back on that, because I worked really hard to keep that in a separate box. And the reality is, it's the thing that freed me eventually to be the biggest self that I am. But yeah, no, we were not supposed to talk about that.
Oh my gosh, I would hire you because of that, right? Like, I mean, the fact that you would go put yourself out there and do, I mean, amazing, right? And not have any inhibitions. Like, I need that in the courtroom, don't I?
Absolutely. And yet, people they can't see past the girly part of dancing, right? And the reality is that as women, a lot of times, we're told that we have to be a certain way, and the rules are written by men. And
Right.
so, yes, 100% you need that in the courtroom and everywhere else, by the way. You need a blend of the incredible strategy and the creativity, but it's hard for people to see that. And that's what I stand for now. My whole life has changed. And that's the whole premise of Getting Unruly is
I
like,
love it. I
you
love
kind
it.
of can't, am I allowed to cuss?
Yes.
Okay. Cause like you kind of can't give a fuck about the rules that hold you back. And that's the thing, right? Because a lot of them were made to keep us where we are and to keep us small and to keep us guessing. But when you realize that they're not made for your benefit in the first place, it's pretty liberating.
Yeah. And who gave these people, whoever they are, the power to create the rules anyway?
I mean, we could get deep into that. And, we're not getting super philosophical, but the teacher part of me, right? I just had this conversation with my gender and communication class last week, is that there's a lot of communication theory that says the people who are in power get to make the rules. Like, we all know this. And the reality is that people who make the rules make them in their favor. I mean, it's just, and there's nothing diabolical about that. That's just, if you get a chance to make the rules, you're going to make them in a way that benefits you.
Right.
And so that's true of language as well. And so the people who created language created words to express their own reality and what was good for them. But they didn't always see all perspectives, nor did they care to. And so, I think that's the short answer of why.
And it's great. It makes me think back. So I was a dance major in college my first 2 years, and I was a modern dancer because I am not, 5'9" and 105 pounds with gorgeous long legs and beautiful toes. And when I was in ballet point class, and you know, yes, she did. The master would walk around and she would pinch every little thing that was hanging out. And as a modern dancer, I had a little bit of stuff hanging out. And now you go and you see dancers of all shapes and sizes and backgrounds, and it's so much more accepted. The rules have changed, right? And again, I don't know who got to do that, but I'm glad somebody did, and I'm glad that now Latin dancing is part of your career, your life, because what a beautiful expression, truly. And to hide that, what a shame. So I'm impressed that you were able to bring that back to the forefront of what you're doing.
It was unwilling. I'm not gonna take credit for it because I was outed. It wasn't like I woke up and was like, I'm gonna be really, really brave today. I had this moment that it happened sort of unwillingly. And that was really the catalyst for it. And I'm not sure how long it would have taken me had that not happened. But it actually happened when I was arguing before the Supreme Court.
Okay.
Yeah, it's quite a story, actually.
Can you dish it a little?
Pardon?
Can you dish the story a little?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a tradition that a lawyer who argues before the Supreme Court for the first time has to be introduced by another lawyer. It's just like this old fashioned thing. And I was practicing with my husband at the time, who was my law partner, and he'd previously argued. And so he was going to do this introduction for my first argument ever. And it's a full panel. So every justice is sitting there. And I've got this guy's life in my hands, right? So I'm already super nervous, but I'm like in good hands here. Like, who better to introduce me than I met him in law school. He's my law partner, my best friend. He gets up to introduce me and he starts off, Your Honors, I want to introduce you to my law partner. She's a really brilliant lawyer. He starts talking about me. And then the next thing I hear is, and by the way, she's the most incredible Latin dancer you have ever seen in your life. She competes all over the country. She wins. You should see her. And he starts going on and on about my freaking dancing. And I'm sitting there like, oh my God, like my life is over. They're not going to respect me. They're not going to hear a word I say. I'm so upset with him. And I mean, thank God murder could not happen in a public place like a courthouse and have me get away with it, because I'm not sure he'd be living right now. I mean, I was really upset. So I get through the argument somehow, and I'm like sweating through all my clothes, and it ends, and I run to the bathroom, right? Because like, where else can you go? I'm not speaking to him. And I'm hanging onto the sink, and I'm having this moment where I'm like feeling so sorry for myself, and I'm staring at my face in the mirror, clinging for dear life. And I'm like, oh my God, like I'm done. Everything I've worked for is over, and I can't believe this just happened. And where am I going to go from now? That existential crisis moment, right? And in walks one of the Supreme Court justices, and she literally yells, "Oh my God, you're in here. I'm so happy I found you. Okay, tell me about your dancing." And I'm like, wait, what? What is happening right now? So the next 20 minutes are her telling me how she's always wanted more in her life, and that this is the coolest thing ever. And she wants to know where she can go to get lessons. And she admires me for dancing and practicing law. And I'm sitting there listening to her, having this out of body experience, thinking I have literally been torturing myself to keep these things separate, because it's not the way we succeed, right? It's not the way we get ahead. This isn't how we do it. And a Supreme Court justice is in here telling me, that this is actually really cool. And by the way, where can she go get lessons? And so it was just this moment where it was undeniable, right? I had to start questioning all of the rules. All the things I've been told about who I had to be in that moment were like, in my face so blatantly. And so, I say like it took something pretty dramatic for me to go, hold on. This is not right. And a lot of what we've been told isn't right. And I know that for sure right now.
So in that moment in the bathroom, did you forgive your husband, or did you hold on to it for a little while?
Oh, hell no. Oh, no.
How long did you make him pay for that?
A long time. I think the ride home was me yelling, and it's 3 hours home from, or maybe, I don't know how far it is from Jefferson City to St. Louis, but it was a really, really like very uncivil drive, because I was so mad. Like, how could you not know? Right. But he's a dude. So he's like, how could you not be proud? Like I'm so proud of you. And that's such a wonderful thing that you do. How could, that separates you? And I'm like, not here. Right.
Right. Anywhere but the Supreme Court.
Here. So, yeah, it took
that was the perfect place, really, right? It was the perfect place. So like, how important do you think that vulnerability, that experience for you of being vulnerable in that moment, even though it wasn't by your own choice, has affected you professionally beyond that? And then part two of that question, right, is really then as you're leading other people, how important is vulnerability to really excel?
I think that moment I think it was defining for my life. I will say though, when we talk about defining moments, I think people often look for them, right? And even, in my journey as a keynote speaker, people will say to me, coaches will say to me like, what is the defining moment? And I know we're supposed to have one, but the truth is I had that moment, and then I was like, I don't know what to do with that, right? Like I really didn't know what to do with that, because what I find is that when you feel that vulnerability for the first time, or you feel that I'm going to challenge the rules for the first time, it's the hardest thing you've ever done. And it's not natural, it's not easy, and there's no roadmap for it. And you have to continually do it over and over and over. And so for me, it was like the beginning, but then it took, a long time of small steps in trying to figure out, how this actually works and where I can actually do this and where I can't. And so it was the beginning. And I think vulnerability is is critical in leading, right? Like we think we have to have all the answers and we have to present in a certain way and we have to show up strong and powerfully to be credible and to be respected. But the reality is that it's our humanity and our gifts that make us incredible, like in every setting. And so when we can bring the strategy and in the pieces of us that are strong and powerful without having to prove that we have that, and allow the vulnerable side to kind of sit side by side, like those are absolutely hands down the best leaders. The people who can say, I actually don't know everything, but we're going to figure this out together.
Isn't that amazing?
Yes.
I know I have these moments where whatever I say comes out of my mouth. There's no pause, right? So sometimes there's that retrospective of like, did that just come out, and how, like, if I had a do-over, would I do it again? But I also think for a lot of people, you have this moment of that where you don't go too fast and you think, should I or shouldn't I? And what would be your advice for the people who do, like, who are sitting in that moment of should I or shouldn't I? Is it always a go for it moment and then you clean up the mess after? Or is there really some way to analyze the should or the shouldn't, before you do it, to understand there's always a consequence to that choice?
Well, I mean, it's a really good question. And I think it's not a simple answer, right? And I think that I would say, if you know what you want, right? If you know what you want and you know what's in your way, then when you're trying to decide, should I or shouldn't I, waiting for certainty is never going to happen. So waiting for that, like, I'm absolutely sure this is the right thing, I'm absolutely sure I should go for it, like that does not happen, unless you've waited so freaking long, you've exhausted every other opportunity. I feel like you have to go before you're ready, always.
Okay.
Like you just do. You have to go before you're ready, always. I also think that this idea of we try to talk ourselves out of failure is not going to be that bad. Yes, it is. It is. It's going to be bad. And I think if we can just accept that it's going to be bad and it's going to feel uncomfortable, but we're still going to be okay, it's just, it takes the charge away. And so it's like, start before you're ready and know that you can handle hard things, right? Like, yeah, it's going to suck if it doesn't go the way you want it to. But ultimately, I think the decision to do it or not do it is, if it's moving you towards something you really, really want, or really feel called to do, or really feel inspired to do, not because you want to prove you're good enough, not because you're trying to prove something for someone else, but because you feel this is an expression of my gifts and talents and it's going to have a positive impact in some way, I think the answer is always yes.
I love it. So when you decided to become a lawyer, was that your idea or were you pushed in that direction?
So interesting. I come from a family of lawyers. My dad was a lawyer and I became a lawyer because he told me not to become a lawyer.
Right.
Yeah, he literally told me that there were, I think his words were, there are more lawyers or wannabe lawyers in law school than there are practicing attorneys in the country. And it's a terrible decision. Don't go to law school, do something else. And I took that to mean, you don't think I can do it. And I was like, oh, bet. So there was that. I mean,
right.
I always have liked advocating for people who don't have a voice. And I definitely thought I'd be good at it. And I thought it would be a really good way to sort of channel that, I want to fight for people. But the deciding thing, I distinctly remember sitting at the table and having that conversation and feeling the fire in my belly of him telling me not to do it and being like, yeah, I'm going.
Right. I love it. Right. Bring it. Right. Bring it. Absolutely. Yeah. Has there ever been that one case that just didn't go the right way?
Well, I haven't practiced for a while.
Okay.
So, I mean, my first trial, this is, it didn't go the right way, but not for the reason you're asking, I think.
Okay.
So my first trial, I was really young. I was just a couple years out of law school and I had just moved back from LA and started working for a large law firm. And there are a lot of rules at large law firms. And I didn't really know all of them and also didn't really care to be bound by them. And I was working on a case for a healthcare system. And it was a small case. It wasn't like a big healthcare thing. It was like they had a tenant in one of their hospitals and it was a dispute with that person. And I'd done all the work and I wanted to try the case. And the partner hadn't done any work. on the case, none. But of course was going to step in and try it. And I was like, oh, no, that's mine. Like, I want to do this. And so I mentioned to him that I wanted to try the case, and laughed in my face. He literally laughed in my face and was like, yeah, that's not happening. But I was undeterred. And so I mentioned to the client, who's their general counsel, I think I could try this case. What do you think? And he's like, absolutely. You know this case. You've been doing all the work. I think you should do it. And by the way, the cost would have been 3 times higher had the partner stepped in.
Right.
So I went back to the partner and said, the client wants me to try the case. I'm going to do it. He was so pissed off. He said to me, you're on your own.
Perfect.
My first trial. I don't know how to do this. I just know I can't, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he literally meant you're on your own, would not help me with anything. So my dad across town, he's a personal injury lawyer. He's got this practice. I go to him. I'm at this huge firm with all these resources, and my partner will not help me. But I go to my dad, help me, because I'm now trying a case and I don't have any help. He helped me get ready for trial.
Aww.
And the partner did not. But he came to court the day of the trial and sat in the back to see if I was going to screw it up.
What a great gift. Really.
But
that is an awesome gift.
It's a gift, but it really stung, right? It really stung.
Some of the good gifts do. And that's where the most value comes from, right?
Yep.
All right. So because I alluded to this in the intro, what's one of the top 20 law schools in the country?
I worked at WashU.
Okay. All right. And would you still say that? Are they still in the top 20?
I think they've moved up, actually.
Awesome. So quick plug for WashU, I mean, that's okay. We got to give credit where it's due.
Yep.
So that's awesome. All right. So now where are you? What are you doing? Where are you spending your time?
So I have my own consulting company, and I do organizational, basically, it's not coaching. I don't like the word coaching. We have to change that.
Sure.
I do consulting with companies that are really looking to level up and kind of get unstuck. So if they're growing quickly or they're going through change and they really need clarity and communication. So I work with clients primarily based on the leader. If a leader is forward thinking and really cares about their people, I'm a good fit.
Okay.
If they're interested in blaming everyone else for their problems and not doing the work, I'm not a good fit. And I also spend a lot of time keynote speaking. That is my real love and passion, is sharing the idea of getting unruly and unruly leadership with audiences.
I love it. The biggest high for me is also being on stage and just talking and sharing and knowing that it's going to change at least one person's life in a positive direction. So, super fun, right? When you
Absolutely.
talk about people getting stuck, and whether it's professionally, in business or even personally, do you think there's any sort of common themes that you find with people?
I do. I mean, for me, I think because I focus so much on the idea of bucking against the rules in a strategic way, I tend to see people who want something different and want something more, but tend to do the same exact thing to try to get to that place. And so, they give lip service to this idea of I want to create, I want to innovate, I want my people to, to do more and to express more and to create more. But then when people come with new ideas, they're like, oh, we can't do that. That doesn't work. That's not us. Oh, sorry. No, we're not ready for that. The market's not ready for that. And so it's like the playbook that gets people to a certain place ends at a certain point, and then nobody knows what to do. And it's really scary to move into that place that's unknown. And so we tend to cling to the things that got us where we are. But I feel like those are the same things that keep us stuck.
Mm-hmm.
And that tends to be, a very similar theme, no matter what industry people are in, is they desire more. But to take the steps to get more is where you have to move into that unknown space that freaks people out.
So a lot of fear. It's driven by fear, right? The fear of failure or lack of success, getting it wrong, right? Whatever the words are, we're scared.
Yeah, and it's legit, right? I mean, there are good reasons to be afraid when you're running a company and you don't know if your new idea is going to work. There's a lot of responsibility there. There's a lot riding on it. I don't want to be flippant about that.
Right.
But that's why strategic and creative are such a good combination.
It's interesting. I always share with people, the idea of this being stuck, and it makes me sad when people feel they're stuck, whether it's in a decision-making process, a career, a relationship, because I really do believe as we move through life, none of us are stuck unless we want to be, right? There's always a choice or a change that can be made. And worst case scenario, you get it wrong and you learn from it and you shift. And shift has always been a very big word for me in my life, so that, we get unstuck and we just shift. Yeah, very interesting. Tell me about Mexico. You spent some time in Mexico doing life-changing, I love that, life-changing retreats. What's that all about?
That's super fun. So years ago, because I'm a dancer, I started teaching dance fitness in law school, actually, just as kind of an outlet, and it grew and it developed. And many years ago, I had a student who came up to me and was like, "What if we did this in Mexico? That would be so fun." And I was like, "I don't know. It sounds like kind of a fun idea. Do you think people would want to do it?" And the next thing I know, I had a whole group of people who were like, "Let's go. Let's do this thing." And so we just kind of impromptu threw together a trip to Mexico. And the first one was just really focused on, we did like dance classes on the beach. And then we would sit around and kind of talk about the things we talk about, right? What are the barriers? What are we stuck with? What are we holding ourselves back, because of? Where are the places where we want to be more free in our lives? And it was just sort of this thing that organically developed. And then we got back, and the next thing, we're back 2 days, and someone emails me, "When's the next one? When are we doing this again?" There are more people who want to go. And so over time, I just, would kind of put it on the calendar here and there, and people would come. And then I teamed up. My sister's a yoga instructor, so I teamed up with her, and we did a yoga dance retreat one time. And it's been a really, really neat sort of outlet when I have the ability to do them, for people to show up and move in a way they don't normally move in life, both, just through conversation, and also there's nothing like dancing on the beach, even when it's freaking hot and you think you're going to pass out, right? The water's right there. You can jump in.
So do a lot of the people that come, they're not dancers, right?
Oh gosh, no.
Yeah.
Most people, I've always attracted a mix of like dancers, and then people who absolutely are not dancers at all. And I love this so much because I really believe everyone can dance. But there's something really cool about people who are like, "I have no rhythm. I cannot, I have 2 left feet." I get all of that. But dancing is not actually done from your brain, and it's our brain that wants to make us stop, right? As you know, being a dancer, we can have all the reasons why we're going to look stupid. We can't do it. I can't learn choreography. This isn't for me. But if you just shut off your brain and you let your body move, it knows what to do. And so much power sits in our body. And as women, there's so much that we can harness, that we don't naturally, we're actually taught to suppress it. Right? It's like you start to move and it's like, "Oh my God, that's inappropriate. What are you doing? Don't move like that. How dare you?" But when you really start to pull the power from your body into life, it's amazing. And so just even that shift, watching people do that and access that, they're like, "Oh my goodness, watch out."
There's
So
a cool freedom, right? There's a cool freedom in expressing that way. And yet we're not a culture of dance here in America.
it's sad because it's so powerful, and it's such an amazing way to express things that we don't have words for. And yet we're always shutting it down.
It's true. It's
Mhm.
true. So when everybody comes on the retreats, with you, do you have that one person that actually wrote the check and then is totally resistant and sits on the side and doesn't participate?
Oh, dude, always.
And what's your magic trick to talk them into it?
So, it's funny because I think when I first started doing it, I felt very strongly that I wanted everyone to experience like the full thing. And I would really work really, really hard. And then when I started teaching college, I had this amazing chair of the communication department. And he and I were chatting, and he said to me, I said, "Do you have any advice?" Because I was moving from WashU over to Maryville, and I was like teaching in a classroom as opposed to running the whole professional development thing. And I said, what advice do you have for me? And he said, "Don't work harder than your students. Like, don't do any, don't let them do the work, and don't put in any more work than they're willing to put in on their own behalf." And it was such good advice because it sort of helps meet people where they are in a way
Mhm.
of like, if a student isn't doing the work, you don't step in to like do it for them, right?
Mhm.
You're kind of meeting them. And that mentality, literally on retreats, I'm like, I'm not gonna do more work than you are. So if you're gonna sit there, I'm happy to offer you water and a cold towel while you sit, but I'm not going to hoist you up with my body and force you to do something. Like I just create the space and the invitation. And what I find is like everyone has choice and everyone has free will and everyone's an adult. And so, people come where they're ready to be. And if that's where they are, great. Then be there until you're ready to jump in. That's fine.
We're big on that in practice too in medicine. I'd love to change the entire world, right? And eat perfect and drink perfect and act perfect and exercise perfect. And yet some people just aren't ready to make that step. So we say the same thing. We're going to meet you where you're at and then we move forward together, whatever that is, slow, fast, we can stall, we can go backward, we can go upside down. It doesn't matter. We're going to move. We're going to move.
Because I think, sometimes I think we, in my mind, I have an idea of what perfect looks like or what I want it to be. But you know what? Maybe for that person writing the check, like maybe writing the check was the biggest step they've ever taken on their behalf in their whole life. And
Mhm.
even that was just like massive, a massive act of self advocacy. And just that felt huge. And they're sitting there contemplating that. So we just don't ever really know. Right. And so I think I love that is your philosophy. I think it's a beautiful way to embrace people and make them feel accepted.
Thank you. So Mexico, have you tried anywhere else or you're just tied to Mexico?
I love Mexico. And it's easy. So, it's a 2-hour direct flight from here. I'm in St. Louis. And so it's just been an easy place to go from. I would definitely try other places, but
Where would you go if you could or when you want to?
um, well, I love Barcelona. My daughter spent a year there last year and I visited her twice and I fell in love with it.
Mhm.
So I think that would be really fun. I think it has to have a beach, so which
Okay.
Barcelona does. But yeah, there are places in like the south of Spain that would be amazing. I mean, there's just the world is so big, right? I think it would be cool. Yeah, I don't know. That's a really good question. I haven't given that much thought, but anywhere with a good beach.
Okay. Yeah, Barcelona is beautiful. I've been there myself. It's interesting though. I've heard that, they don't want so many tourists anymore. So we might have to get dual citizenship so that, we can continue visiting if we love to go there.
Yeah, that's true. That's been post since she left, but she started to feel like a local after being there for a year. So I get that. It's a very crowded place.
Amazing. Now, is she going to follow in your footsteps? Is she going to law school?
No, she's actually getting her doctorate at Columbia in philosophy.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. So you didn't tell her not to do it to make her do it, right? You didn't follow in dad's footsteps.
No, I parent completely different than I was parented.
Yeah. It's interesting. So I have this philosophy, and I'm curious in the business world then, that we usually either become our parents or we become the antithesis of our parents, right? We do as they do, or we usually reject that and do different. Do you find that in the business world, leaders are similar that way?
Hmm. I think it's hard to say because I think most people will tend to do what they've been taught.
Okay.
Um, you know, at least to some extent, to do what they've been taught or to do what they've been told or what has worked if they have a mentor. They tend to cling to, sort of this work, to look at success that someone achieved in the industry and want to mirror that and to use those strategies, which makes a lot of sense.
Hmm.
I think it's a little bit different in the business world because to go completely the opposite direction and do something ground up that no one's ever done before, that takes a knowledge. Still, you still have to know what it is to be able to deviate from it with strategy. So I don't know if it's exactly the same.
Okay.
But I do think that people who experience sort of the traditional way of doing business are oftentimes the ones who see that and go, yeah, this is absolutely not the way we need to do it. There's a better way. And then
Nice.
go reject it totally and do something
Right. And the innovation begins.
completely.
So let's talk about the book for a minute. What inspired you to write, and what inspired you, although silly question since it's in the title, to come up with the title, Truly Inspired?
So I think that I feel, and I see this. It's interesting because working with students, watching it was really the students that inspired me. Watching so many students at a place in their lives where they're about to go into the world, and so few of them actually knew what they really wanted to do in terms of their impact. Right? They were on a path that had been either set for them, that they had sort of been guided toward. Someone said this is really prestigious. This looks really good. You should do this thing, and there was a lot of push toward a thing, but without a lot of autonomy on their part in terms of like, these are my gifts and talents, and this is where I'm going to be really, really happy. And I was seeing people a year in, 2 years in, 3 years in, going, I did all the things I was supposed to do, and I don't love it. And it's not just the law that happens in. It's all the industries where people kind of do all the things they've been told to do, and then they wake up one day and they're like, this isn't for me. I don't like this. I don't feel called to this. This doesn't fulfill me in any way. And so I think I wrote it as sort of a call to, hey, I get that people are telling you to do it a certain way, but just so you know, there are other things to consider beyond just the path that you're given. And you need to really think about what your gifts are and what you really want and where you can show up and shine as a path toward doing work that you really, really love.
So is it kind of a workshop, if you will, in the book to make you think through those processes?
It is. And there's a section. The interesting thing is when I wrote it, I really had sort of young and rising professionals in mind. But I have had people reach out to me who are not at that point of their career at all and say this was really transformational, because there's a lot in there about kind of finding your voice and your confidence.
Okay.
And kind of that body power and the ability to walk into a room and own it. And so that part of it, it's toward the end, but that actually has had even, I think, a bigger impact. And I think when I write the next one, I'm really going to be focusing on that.
So what's the next one going to be about?
Oh, that's still floating around. It's not even close. But I really do think that we miss an opportunity to evaluate the rules that we're given. Like we really do. I think so many of us are so eager to get to that next level, to get to that next place, to prove that we're good enough, and that we're doing all the right things, and we miss a chance to say, is this actually for me? And is this bringing out my best? And we're listening to people who love us, genuinely love us and care about us, but who don't know exactly what we're capable of. And when people say, oh, don't do that, or don't go there, or that's dangerous, or oh my gosh, don't take that risk, they don't know if we're the person to break that entire thing open for the rest of the world. And so it kind of makes me crazy when I think about all of the potential that people are just holding on to because they're being told not to do the thing.
Mm-hmm. I've never been a rule follower, Kim. I mean, I've got people in my camp that'll attest to that. And sometimes it's for good, and sometimes they'll say it's for evil, although I always think it's for good. But I love that. And I think we've got to break down those barriers, and we've got to challenge, and we've got to be innovative, and we've got to be comfortable in those decisions. And I really do believe that a lot of time the rules, wherever they are, really do hold us back, And I love that you're pushing forward and teaching people how to move through that in a positive, safe space, so that we can see where it takes us. And it's actually pretty exciting. So thank you for doing all the amazing work. So book is next. Is there anything else next on your agenda where we can learn what's going on in your world?
Really, I'm just this next year or so, it's all speaking all the time. I'm really looking to speak and to share the message and give people the actionable strategies to change things, to walk out and be able to implement some of this stuff, right? To think about things differently, and to not be stuck wondering, is there more for me? Can I do more? Is this my life, and do I have to just live it this way? But can I be the biggest version of myself?
I love that. So, Kim, the biggest version of herself now, and we'll continue to do that. We're going to take a quick break, take a listen to our sponsors, then we're going to come back and I'm going to ask Kim some probably not so difficult questions, but I'm really curious as to what the answers are. So don't disappear. We're going to have some fun and just give us a moment. This is your weekly dose of Dr. Cindy, the Positively Altered podcast. Stop. Hit that follow button now and spread the love with Positively Altered. Thanks for hanging around. We have Kim Bolourtchi still with us in the house. And I've got to tell you, I'm super excited to see what the answers to these questions are, because although we've learned a lot about what you do, I think this is where we get an opportunity to dive in a little bit deeper on just some fun questions. You ready for me, Kim?
I don't know. I'm a little nervous.
You can decline any question if you want. There's zero pressure here. Okay. So if you just say no, we'll move on. If we do none of them, that's okay too. But I think they'll be fun. Let's try them. All right. So snow is white, but if you had the power to change it to be any color on the planet, what color would you make it?
Purple.
Oh, that was 2 today. We did record a podcast right before you. We talked him into purple as well. And I love that answer because purple is it's a Dr. Cindy color, by the way. So that was a good answer. All right. You're going to be in the Olympics. You're going to win a gold medal. What sport would you pick to win that gold medal in? I just sounded like a game show host there, didn't I, a little bit with that? What sport would you pick?
That's a hard one. I would say ice skating.
Okay. And would you do it as a single or would you do it as a couple?
Ooh, that's a hard one. I think I would do it as a single.
As a single. Mm-hmm. And the Latin dancing that you're doing as a couple or as a single? As a couple. Mm-hmm. All right. So you're kind of done with the partner thing in the Olympics.
Well, the thing is that it takes a long time to have a really good partnership. And I don't know any guys who would be a really good partner. So I'm going on that one my own.
Okay, I like that. I think the gold is in the pocket for you. That's perfect. All right. So I always get this question a lot where they say, okay, if you could have lunch with somebody dead or alive, that's famous or not famous, but that you would love to have a conversation with. And I never really understood why that's such a popular question. So let's say you're going to already have that lunch. What would you actually eat during that lunch if given the choice?
I would probably eat what I always eat at lunch, which is a salad. I always eat salad. I know it's so boring and I'm always so embarrassed to admit that, but I literally always eat salad at lunch.
Okay, what's in the salad? Let's make it fun. What are the ingredients?
Okay. So lettuce, quinoa, sweet potato, what else? I'm trying to think. There's like a bowl I really like. Yeah, I don't know. Like crunchy vegetables, citrus vinaigrette.
See,
nothing that's going to get stuck in my teeth. Yeah. I do not want broccoli. No broccoli.
Oh, well, see, I'd be the girl that tells you there's broccoli in your teeth. So as long as, I'm around.
But see,
you'll be good.
I can't guarantee the person I'm having lunch with would, and I'd probably be sitting there with big old think of my teeth. It's happened before, actually.
It's happened to me too. Right. Yeah, more than once. And you know what? For everybody out there, be the person that tells somebody they've got stuff in their teeth, please.
Absolutely. So or like their shirt's unbuttoned, or they spilled on their shirt. Like all of those things. That's like a nice thing to do.
Absolutely. So make sure you do that. Good life lesson here. If you could live anywhere in the world, I think I know where you're going to pick, but if you could live anywhere in the world, where would you be?
So that's actually not an easy question for me. because I love my kids, and I have one in New York and I have one in Miami. And so I don't want to go too far away from them. So even though right now I would probably go live in Spain, I actually don't want to go to Spain because I like to be able to hop on a plane and see either one of them really fast.
Okay, that's fair. I didn't mean to make it difficult. Lastly, Kim, what was your favorite thing about doing the podcast today?
Oh, talking to you was so fun.
Oh
I
my gosh,
really, I really enjoyed our conversation.
you're so cute. You know what? I did too. Actually, the minute we came on, and just so everybody knows, we're meeting for the first time today, but I just love your energy. And for those of you not watching, she's absolutely adorable with these cute little glasses. And there's just a resonance that I think occurred from the minute we jumped on the podcast. So for me as well. Kim, where can everybody find you? Where do they get the book? Where do they, book you to speak? How do we get in touch with you?
My website is the best way to get in touch with me. It's kimbolourtchi.com, KIMBOLOURTCHI.com. It's got everything on there. My book is on Amazon, so Truly Inspired, you can search it and it pops up. But really the website, and also people can connect with me on LinkedIn. I really like having good conversations and connecting with real people there. So I'm always down to have real connections.
It's awesome. Kim, thank you so much for being a guest. For those of you that would like to find my book, it's wherever books are sold, or you can find it on Amazon, Positively Altered, Finding Happiness at the Bottom of a Chemo Bag. Please feel free to send us an email at hello@DrCindySpeaks, or check us out at drcindyspeaks.com to be part of the community and find out about my speaking gigs. And Kim, I hope one day we get to share the stage together and be infectious with our energy to help continue to motivate and help people change their lives. Thank you so much for being a guest today. This was absolutely fabulous.
Thank you so much for having me. I absolutely loved every minute.
It's great. And for all of you out there, I hope today and these moments left you positively altered.